Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at the Mezco Aliester Gangreene from their Gangreene Estates line of figures. This will be the second figure in Gangreene Estates. The first being Theodore Sodcutter, the groundskeeper. And I'm really excited for this one. I watch a horror movie every week, and relatively recently watched all the Friday the 13th movies, followed by In a Violent Nature. So this came out at a great time for me. So I'm very excited. Also, Biscuit's probably going to join us through this review a bit because she's wants some attention today. Here's a look at the packaging. It says The Terrible Tale of Aliester Gangreene, Gangreene Estates up here, and the gold Mezco seal indicating it's an exclusive. Artwork on the side. And some more spooky artwork on the back here where you can see Alister's decayed face and multiple eyes in one socket and the skulls on the trees from the comic. Here Alister is out of the package. He's definitely reminiscent to horror icons such as Jason, with the kind of monochrome outfit, the broad silhouette, and the zombie-esque head sculpt. And speaking of that head sculpt, I think this is one of their best head sculpts so far. We'll take his hood down so we can see it a little better. I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of details there with the kind of rotting, decaying flesh. A lot of texture. The mouth is slightly askew, and he's missing teeth. He's missing his nose. We can see the remnants of that there. He's got a few strands of green hair. And then I love what they've done with the eyes. He has one sort of normal eye, and then one where there are 3 eyes on the socket, and then 2 more eyes on the side over here. No pupils in those, but they do have red around the edges, and they're painted very nicely. And then throughout the skin, there's a bit of a purple wash there to really bring out those details. So I love that. I think it's fantastic. He does only come with the one head sculpt and then some mask options, but I think this is a very nice head, so I'm pleased with this. And then we can see that the purple shading comes down to the body. I'm not going to take his hoodie off here, but I have seen in another review where someone took it off. I believe it was the toy page, and I'll put a link to their review in the description down below so you can see that. I do like the textured fabric they used for the jacket here, and it is stitched in the center, so if you want to take that off, you'll have to use a seam ripper. I do wish there were some buttons there instead or something so it could be removable. But it's tattered and it has some nice shading and weathering. There's some holes both on the front and the back, and it's tattered on the bottom. Then over top of that, he has this harness that's like a pleathery material. And I initially thought that this was a QC error on mine, where the pleather's like inside out here and the fuzzy side is sticking out. But then I went back and watched the Amazing's review, and his is also like that. So maybe this is just a design choice, and maybe they just wanted it to look out like rough out leather. I'm not sure, but you can see if we flipped it over, it does. It does have the leather texture on the inside there. It's a little snug, so it's hard to get in there. The rest of it is the pleathery side out though, so I guess it's not a huge deal. Once I have them posed up at a distance, I don't really notice it that much. It's not like offensive or anything, but with the other parts being the pleather side out, it didn't feel intentional to me immediately, so I'm not sure. Then the belt is also like that on the front, but on the back, again, it's the leathery side out. The leathery parts do have a little bit of paint and weathering to them. There are some little like rivets in that. And then a little metal ring holding the harness in the front and back, and little buckles. And these buckles do actually work. You can take the belt and the harness off. And you'll need to do that for the belt if you want to put any of the accessories hanging from that. For his hands, he has more of that nice purple shading or wash there, and he has some lacerations on the hands as well. The body underneath is painted, and we can see that he's pretty shredded under there. So if you wanted to remove the shirt, you could. Also, this shirt underneath the jacket also weathered, and I've seen some pictures online where people took the jacket off and just have the tattered shirt underneath, and that's also a pretty cool look. So there's some options if you want to modify it. I'll probably leave mine for now. Hanging from the belt, there's a little pouch, and it has some red staining on it. Look a little bloody, and that's hanging off a little string. And there's a string on part of the belt here as well. And then for the pants, these are a similar material to the jacket, but a little bit smoother and a little bit of a darker brown. But they do have more of that weathering and shading on them, so they look a little dirty and bloodied up. Then down at the boots, these are nicely sculpted. I think I saw that these were on maybe the Conan figure as well, and they look good. They're tattered at the top and they match the aesthetic of Aliester, so I'm happy with those. And there's sculpting on the bottom as well. He does have a bit of a hunchback, which makes him kind of broad and gives him a nice silhouette front to back. And you can kind of play around with that with the posing to make him look more hunched or more upright. And his neck is kind of set forward there as well. And we can see some more of the sculpting on the back here. So I think it's really cool that they sculpt even the parts that are going to be hidden. There is a gap here for articulation, but I think that's fine since it is hidden. But I think it's cool that you have the option to customize it and remove some of the soft goods if you want, and it's still going to look cool. There is also a wire running through the edge of the hood here, so you can pose that and get it cinched down to the face or kind of whooshed back or blowing in the wind or whatever. So that's really nice. I'm glad they did that. So aesthetically, overall, I'm very pleased. The belt and harness situation, I think, is questionable, but a relatively minor part of the figure. And I think the other parts that are there make up for it because the sculpt and the rest of the soft goods are fantastic. And we'll see here in a bit that he does have some other accessories that look very nice as well and go with the aesthetic. But first we'll take a look at the articulation. So at the head, he does have a double ball peg. And I like the way the Mezco does the heads because they have like this soft inner socket here, so they pop on and off very nicely. As I had said before, he does have his neck jutting forward a bit, so he always has a bit of that hunchback look. But even with that, the head will look up about that much. So not a ton, but that is until the head bumps into the back of the neck there. And then down this much. Does have some side-to-side tilt and swivel. So you can still get some pretty good nuance posing out of it. At the shoulders, these are a little stiff, but they will go out as much. You won't get full rotation because of the soft goods, but you'll be able to rotate them up enough. No butterfly joint, that would have been nice in there. It does have a bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow that gets pretty decent range. He's a little muscular and bulky, but I think that's pretty good. And then it does have a ball hinge at the wrist, so you can get the hands posed however you'd like. At the torso, there's a diaphragm joint that is a double ball peg. You can kind of see it shifting back and forth there. And then there's a ball peg, just a single ball at the waist. So at the diaphragm, he can bend back pretty far. And then with the head looking up, you can get him looking up pretty decently like that. And then it bends forward this much. Then with the waist, very good range bending back and pretty good range bending forward as well. There is a lot of side-to-side tilt and swivel on both of those joints, so I don't think you're going to have any issues there. You can crunch him all over the place. And we'll briefly take a look up in here. You can see there is quite a significant gap. I'm totally fine with that though, because it's going to allow for more articulation and it's covered by the shirt. But if you wanted to take the soft goods off, that may be something to note. Trying to get him situated. At the hips, these will go out. This much, very good range with the soft goods, better than some Spider-Mans. He'll kick forward. About this much. Back just a little bit. There is a thigh swivel, and it feels like the hips on a ball as well, so good swivel there. A double jointed knee. It gets decent range. You can't kick the boot to the butt, but still pretty good. It feels like it's the muscle on the back of the leg here bumping into the boot that limits it, but I think that's all right. And then there is a boot swivel that's pretty snug. I had to kind of like break mine loose out of the package, but it is there. And then the boot will go forward that much, back not so much, and there is an ankle rocker, but it's at a pretty steep angle, so it's not the best. But it's all right. I wish it had a little bit more ankle rocker, but it's been manageable so far. So overall, the articulation is better than I thought it was going to be, especially coming from Theodore Sodcutter, who didn't have the best articulation, if we're honest. But this guy, you can get into some pretty good poses. I'll try to just do a quick one here. It's not going to be the best, but just to give you an idea of something. Like, that's pretty good for a bulky zombie guy in soft goods. So I was pleasantly surprised with how well he articulated. I thought he was going to kind of be a brick. But I've been having a lot of fun with him. Now on to the accessories. So first we have the mask that he's kind of advertised with. It's shown on the front of the box. And it looks pretty nice. It looks kind of like a weathered metal with a hammered texture all over it. It's got some nice brown airbrushing around the edges. It's not my favorite of the masks available though. I think this is probably my least favorite look for him, but I think it's okay. So you just kind of squeeze the edges to pop it apart, and then I'll try to get it on here on camera without too much fuss. Okay. So there it is on him. It fits pretty well. And you can still put the hood on over top of that. I just think it covers up a lot of the visually interesting aspects of the head sculpt. Specifically the multiple eyes on one side. You can still see the busted up teeth though, and his one creepy eye. But for me personally, I feel like it covers up too much of what's fun about the figure. To take this off, I feel like it's kind of difficult to do it while it's on him, so I've just been popping it off and then squeezing the back section until that pops out, and then as you can see the head falls out. Now the other mask that I much prefer, and so does Biscuit, because every time I've looked away, she's picked this up and tried to run with it. So I'm gonna have to put this in a little storage container soon. Do you mind? Do you mind, little Biscuit? It's this animal skull mask, and it has like some leather strapping on the back. Biscuit's very interested because she loves this little mask for some reason. And it just slips over the head of the figure very easily. It's kind of like a soft rubbery plastic. We'll zoom in a little bit more here so you can see the details. This is very nicely sculpted and weathered. And the leather straps are painted very well. And with this one, I feel like, one, I like the animal skull because that's just a cool look for a mask. And then two, you can see the creepy 3-eye situation over here, and you can still see the eyes on the side of the head. And his green hair and some of the decaying flesh. You can't see the mouth, but I think the eyes are spookier than the mouth anyway. Biscuit, what are you eating? Stop! You're a menace! You're a menace! So I think this one's really cool, and you can also hang it from the belt if you still want it on the figure, but want the face revealed. Can't really hang the other mask on the belt. Oh, Biscuit. You're getting into everything today, aren't you, bud? He'll also come with this fuzzy greenish shawl. And this has a little button on the front with a loop. You have to put the loop on the button out of the package, which was kind of difficult to do on my clumsy fingers. And once I got it together, I just left it there because I didn't want to try to take it back apart. So I've just been slipping it over his head. And it's big enough that if he has the mask on, it'll slip over as well. And this kind of broadens his shoulders out and gives him a bit more texture. And he looks mossy. And it has kind of a nice ombre effect there. And some these brownish reddish weathering splotches. I think it's pretty cool overall. I like that they included it, and I like that it's another option. I don't know that I'm gonna display him with it though. And for additional accoutrement, he will come with 2 necklaces, or kind of like trophy strings. This one has some spiky bones on it, and this one has some tiny animal skulls and a little spiky on it. So you can either hang these around his neck like a necklace, or they're big enough that if you want to put one arm through and hang them kind of diagonal on the front or the back, you can do that as well. So I think that's really cool. And that gives him a bit more visual interest and a little more like world building and storytelling through props, which is fun. Some additional kind of trophies. There is a decaying hand on a string. This is sculpted and painted very nicely. It looks wet and gross, with a little brownish spots look wet, and the rest of the hand looks dry. So I like that. I like multiple finishes and textures on accessories and figures. You can see the end there. Looks like it was cut off. And a pretty nice little string. And then similar with the head. A nice zombie head. Also looks like it has some wet spots. And it's nicely sculpted. So yeah, I think both of those are great. And you can attach them to the figure via his belt. So you can just take the belt off like a belt. You could probably put it on the harness as well, but I've been doing the belt. I haven't tried to take the harness off yet. And then just put the string through the belt and then put it back on. Once it's on there, then you've got another little dangly accessory, and that's fun. I like that. I like when you can load a figure up with accessories, and when they can hold all the accessories on them, because then I don't lose them. You can also have him hold the head or hand in his gripping hands. I'll show that in a moment, but there it is, dangling off his wrist. Speaking of hands, he'll come with the fist hands on him in the package. The nails are painted black. These open, grabbing, or loosely gripped hands. And these are also painted and sculpted nicely. The lacerations continue throughout all the hand sculpts. And you can use this one to have him loosely grip any of the accessories. That wasn't a great example. That's a little better. And then the gripping hands. That's it for the hands. So a little light on hands for this figure. Some Mezco figures will come with like 8 pairs of hands. This one only comes with the 3. But they will get the job done. And then with the gripping hands, you can grip all sorts of accessories. The head. And then there is this bloody bone that's painted very well. There's a nice splatter on it. And the blood on there is glossy and wet looking. And then the handle is nice and textured. And it has a string on it, so you could hang this from his belt if you don't want him holding it. Love that. And then some shading up here. So I love this. This looks great. And the hands are soft, so pretty easy to get him to hold all the accessories. And he holds that well. And I like that this one gives a bit of contrast and another color added to the figure. He's a relatively cool figure color-wise. And this has a bit of warmth. I think it matches with the rest well, and it really pops in photos. So I like that a lot. His other weapon is this spiked club. It also has some blood on the end there. It doesn't show up quite as well because it's a darker accessory, but it is sculpted well. It looks pretty cool. I imagine if this was a horror movie, he would start out with the bone, and then like halfway through the movie or fourth through, he would get this, and this would be like his main weapon. This also fits in his hand well. It's a bit bigger. You can technically get him holding the club with both hands, even without a butterfly joint. You're not going to get the most dynamic poses with two hands, though. It's a little bit awkward and just kind of tough to get him in there, but technically can be done. It'll also come with this Mortal Kombat fatality looking head and spine. Got a bit of loose thread here. And this looks very nice and gruesome. It's bright red, and it has some black paint in the crevices. It's sculpted well. It's got one eyeball. The teeth are tooth colored, and there's a bit of that same color paint for the bones sticking out of the blood there. So it looks pretty nice. It's a fun accessory. And then finally, he'll come with this bear trap. Has a chain on the end, a real chain, so that's nice. And the bear trap actually functions. If you push this down, you can set the trap. And then if we push down on the spiky bit, it'll come up and clamp. It doesn't clamp very hard. It's not going to hurt you or anything. The spikes are a little spiky, but we're still concerned with pushing on it or playing with it. So this is very cool. And it has some red around the spikes for blood, and it looks wet. And can I help you, Biscuit? And a bit of a rusty colored paint. So this looks good. He can hold the chain in his hand if you want to look like he's gonna toss it at someone. I think this will be fun to pose with figures. Then finally, he'll come with a display stand. It has the same artwork that's on the box. And it's got a little foot peg there, or you can pop that out and put the arm in. So that just pops in there like that. There's also a little Ziploc baggie for the accessories. Oh, it also comes with a comic book, and I think this is done really well, and this is fun, and it's got some nice art in here, and you get some of the backstory of the character and some other characters in the universe. So I like this a lot. I didn't know there was a comic that was going to be coming with it, but it's a fun add-in. I always like when they include comics with the Mezco figures. So a pretty good spread of accessories. A little bit less than what Mezco figures normally have, to be honest. Normally they're, at least with the recent ones I've gotten, like Doc Nocturnal or like the Union Gomez. I feel like they're a bit more accessories. Maybe some of the budget went to the functioning bear trap here. I'm not sure. But I do like what he came with. I think maybe some blood effects would have been nice. I know they have those with some of their other figures. For sizing comparisons, Alister's standing at about 6 1/4 to the top of his head. Here he is next to Biscuit, as well as the original release of Theodore Sodcutter, Doc Nocturnal, the monster who hunts monsters, and Atticus Doom. I like that there's a pretty decent variation in height between Mezco figures. I think sometimes it starts to look a little boring when all the figures are exactly the same size in some lines. So you can see here he's quite a bit shorter than Theodore Sodcutter, and he's a little bit more broad than Doc Nocturnal. They're about the same height though, and he's a bit taller than Atticus Doom. For a couple other lines, here's the SH Figuarts Deku from My Hero Academia, the Reveltech Mirako, also from My Hero Academia, and the Shield of Dezera from Savage Crucible. I feel like out of my collection currently, Mirako has the most final girl energy. Like if she got caught in a bear trap, she wouldn't let that prevent her from surviving and beating the killer. I have reviews up of all three of these figures if you want to go check those out as well. So overall, I like this figure a lot. It's not perfect, and I do have a couple minor issues with it, but I've just been having a lot of fun posing it, and I think the head sculpt is fantastic. Would I have liked more head sculpts and more hands and some blood effects? Yes, especially for the price, but I am enjoying what's here. Enough so that I feel like if they put out another version of this, like they did with Theodore Sodcutter, there was a blue version of him and then a green version, I may be tempted to get another one depending on what accessories it would come with. If it was different enough, or if it was in a cool enough colorway, or if it did include some more blood effects or different head sculpt or something, I think I like it enough that I might get another one. If you're into horror, I think you'd really enjoy this figure. I would recommend it more than Theodore Sodcutter. I like that figure as well, but I feel like this one's more fun to play with. And in terms of enjoyability for me, he's up there with Atticus Doom for me right now, which is my favorite Mezco figure. So I hope that helped you decide if you want to track this figure down. It was a Mezco exclusive, so it did sell out the first day like they normally do. They do always have their wait list that you could try to get on. Or every now and then Big Bad Toy Store will get some Mezco exclusives at some point. Or in the future they may put out a different version of this one in a different color or something. So if you did get this figure, let me know what your thoughts are on it. Thank you for watching. Remember to be kind to yourself and others. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.